There are many places on our planet with surprising realities, but few are as extreme and baffling as a nation where there is no internet, and the government controls the people to such an extreme degree that it prohibits the importation of books and the use of social media, yet at the same time is home to tribes where men can have multiple wives and exchange camels for women. In this new video from Uncensored World, we will travel to Eritrea, the hottest country in the world, and one of the most impressive, hidden, and unknown corners of the planet. A country you probably didn't know existed due to its location in one of the most remote and inaccessible areas on Earth, with a forbidden border considered by many to be the most dangerous on the planet, and acidic lakes that create landscapes worthy of science fiction. A fascinating nation where military service can be compulsory and lifelong, with no ATMs. A region with rituals such as drinking coffee for hours, inhabited by children who speak more than 5 languages and camels that store water in their tongues to use hours or days later when they need it. Pay attention and don't miss this video. Soon you will travel with us to what is probably one of the most unexplored places on Earth. Let's get started. Traveling through Eritrea is like entering a place that seems to belong to another dimension, a reality far removed from planet Earth. In this small country in the Horn of Africa, every street, every landscape, and every encounter with its people is a window into a complex and fascinating past and present. Discovering its Italian-style cities, its ancient traditions, and its extreme nature and present is an experience that combines history, mystery, and wonder. Eritrea is a country of about 6 million inhabitants, made up of 9 main ethnic groups, including the Tigrinya, Tigray, Afar, and Rashida, many of whom maintain ancestral traditions that are far removed from everyday life in the big cities, such as the possibility of having multiple wives, initiation rituals, or the exchange of livestock for wives. Geographically, Eritrea is a country of striking contrasts. It has extensive coastal plains, high plateaus in the interior, and sun-scorched desert areas. In the north is the Danakil Desert, considered one of the hottest places on Earth, where temperatures can exceed 60 degrees Celsius. This diversity of landscapes, ranging from the sea to the mountains, has shaped the lives of its inhabitants for centuries. Eritrea is located on the eastern edge of the African continent, on the shores of the Red Sea, bordering Sudan, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. Its strategic location has meant that, over the centuries, various powers have set their sights on this territory. But even so, it still retains a very distinct identity that can be seen in its people and culture. The strip of land that separates Eritrea from Ethiopia and Djibouti, known in Tigrinya, one of Eritrea's main languages, as Hadas, meaning the line, is one of the most extreme and enigmatic territories, not only in the country but also on the planet. Hadas, far from being a simple border, is an arid and mountainous landscape that seems to come from another world, a place where nature and history have created a forbidden region where surprising things happen. Hadas is a controlled area with restricted access. Special permits are required to visit it, and visitors must be accompanied by accredited guides. This control seeks to protect both travelers and local communities, as the area preserves remnants of ancient military routes and areas still in the process of demining. Nature here imposes its own challenge. Endless dunes, mountains of salt, and lakes of unreal colors shape a landscape that seems to be from another planet. Extreme temperatures and water scarcity make any trip an adventure that requires planning and absolute respect for this wild and extreme environment. This combination of factors, intense heat, unique landscapes, and regulated access, makes the Hadas border a true destination for lovers of extreme geography. A place where every kilometer tells a story and where adventure is experienced with wonder, not unnecessary risk. For decades, this corridor was the scene of severe tensions and clashes, leaving behind thousands of anti-personnel mines hidden under the sand. As a result, access to this border is not only strictly controlled by the government, but also poses a real danger to the life of anyone who attempts to cross it. The most significant conflict occurred between Eritrea and Ethiopia. After gaining independence from Ethiopia in 1993, the two nations argued for years over the exact boundaries of their border. This dispute erupted into a war that left the land littered with mines and fortifications. Although a historic peace agreement was signed in 2018, much of the strip remains marked by this conflict. That is why access remains restricted, and latent tension makes this corridor one of the most sensitive and heavily guarded places in Africa. But apart from mines and conflicts, its greatest enigma today is not the conflicts of the past, but its unique geography. In its interior lies the Danakil region, home to the Danakil Desert, considered by scientists to be the hottest place on Earth in terms of average annual temperature. In this desert, temperatures can reach up to 60 degrees Celsius, posing an extreme challenge to the life of any animal species. Its landscape is surreal, created by extensive salt formations, geysers, acid lakes, and lava lagoons, a reality that offers a spectacle of unique and desolate beauty that makes us feel like we are on another planet. Despite its hostility, the Danakil Desert is inhabited by local communities who have adapted their lives to these extreme conditions in which most humans would not survive for more than a few hours. The most famous of the tribes inhabiting the Danakil is the Afar tribe, one of the ethnic groups residing in this region, which has developed unique ways of life to survive in this hellish environment. The Afar tend to live in nomadic or semi-nomadic communities, moving according to the conditions of the desert and the availability of resources offered by the land and the environment. Their way of life includes salt harvesting and livestock breeding, essential adaptations for survival in such an inhospitable environment. In response to the harsh conditions of the desert, the Afar tribes practice polygamy, or in other words, they can have several wives, a tradition that helps them cope with the difficulties of desert life, such as scarcity of resources and intense labor. This practice allows the Afar greater social cohesion and a more equitable distribution of responsibilities and resources among these families. Polygamy among the Afar is not only a matter of status, but also of survival. In an environment as hostile as the Danakil Desert, where life depends on the availability of water, grass, and salt, having multiple wives allows for the sharing of domestic and livestock care tasks, as well as ensuring that there is enough help to collect salt and maintain the home. Some Afar men may have more than 10 wives, depending on their economic capacity and the size of their herd of camels and goats. Each wife contributes to the family's workforce, helping with herding, food preparation, and other tasks necessary for survival in such an extreme environment. The practice of exchanging women for livestock is very common among the Afar. For them, camels are their main asset due to their resistance to heat and their ability to transport water and supplies. For this reason, camels are sometimes used as part of marriage dowries or agreements between families, strengthening alliances and ensuring the survival of both parties. When it comes to camels and survival, few people know that evolution has created unique camels with supernatural abilities in Eritrea. In Eritrea, camels are not simply pack animals, but true desert survivors. Evolution has endowed some species of Eritrean camels, known locally as Danakil dromedaries, with amazing abilities. They can store water in their bodies for days, weeks, and even months, and their tongues function as natural reservoirs that allow them to retain fluids to survive in extreme conditions. This adaptation is essential for traveling long distances in the arid Danakil Desert, where water sources are scarce and the roads can be unforgiving. The relationship between Eritreans and camels is unique, as since ancient times, these nomadic and semi-nomadic communities have depended on them not only to transport salt, water, and supplies, but also for trade and social rituals. At this point, we would like to ask you, how many camels do you think you are worth? Or how much do you think the love of your life would be worth? Do you know of any places as extreme as the Danakil Desert? We would love to hear from you in the comments, and it is the best way you can help Uncensored World continue working every week to bring you the best content. So thank you. That is why camels are the greatest indicator of wealth and prestige for Eritreans. A man with many camels can support several wives, form strategic alliances with other families, and survive and live in better conditions. This has a lot to do with the fact that camel markets in Eritrea are a real spectacle. Especially in cities like Karen or in villages in the Danakil, sellers proudly display their animals, while buyers evaluate their endurance, size, and survival skills. There you can witness exchanges that include cash, additional livestock, or even marriage dowries. These markets are places of commerce, culture, and tradition. Camels also participate in local festivals and rituals. During community celebrations, races, displays of strength and endurance, and other tests are held to showcase the adaptability of these animals and their central importance in Eritrean life. Observing how they interact with humans and how they are cared for and revered offers a unique window into the symbiosis between species and culture. A reality and symbiosis that is far removed from the secrecy of this country, which makes it one of the most eccentric and strange on the planet. Despite being located in a strategic coastal area of the Horn of Africa, Eritrea remains one of the most isolated countries in the world. Its government maintains a high degree of control over the population, seeking to preserve internal stability and limit external influences that could affect the country's way of life. Because of this isolation and regulation, some people have come to refer to Eritrea as the North Korea of Africa, a way of describing its secrecy and the way in which daily life is organized in the nation. Among the actions taken to promote this isolation, the most striking is the country's internet access, which is so limited that it is estimated that only about 1% of the population can use it regularly, while the rest depend on controlled state services or authorized centers. This reality leads many to consider Eritrea the country where the internet does not exist. The country does not allow the importation of books or photocopiers, following a strict approach to education and content that is considered appropriate for the population. As a result, much of the knowledge and culture is transmitted orally or through government-authorized channels. But as extraordinary as it may seem, despite these restrictions, it is striking that much of the country is multilingual, and it is possible to find children on the street who speak more than 5 languages. This is due to Eritrea's ethnic diversity, the historical influence of colonial powers such as Italy, and the practical need to communicate in different dialects and languages for daily life, trade, and social interaction. This reality can be observed like nowhere else in Asmara, the country's capital, which stands at an altitude of more than 2,300 meters, giving it a surprisingly temperate climate compared to the coastal plains. Known as Little Rome, Asmara retains a unique architectural charm thanks to its Italian heritage from the colonial period. Strolling through its avenues, lined with cafes, ice cream parlors, and Art Deco buildings, is like traveling back in time. Most surprising is that this little Italy lies right on the edge of the most suffocating desert on Earth, a contrast that makes Eritrea even more fascinating and strange to those who visit it. This is because in the 19th century, Italy established its colony in this region, leaving a visible legacy in the architecture, cuisine, and even the language. Although Italian is not an official language, it is still heard on the streets and taught in many schools. Later, after World War II, Eritrea was under British administration and later became politically integrated with Ethiopia, which explains why many Eritreans speak several languages at once and reflects the cultural diversity of the area. Finally, in 1993, Eritrea achieved independence after a long and complex process that lasted more than 30 years. This past helps to understand its present. A centralized government, a strong sense of national identity, and an economy that is still seeking to grow and consolidate. An economy that functions almost independently from the rest of the world, considering that there are no ATMs in this country, and almost all transactions are carried out in cash. This means that credit cards and electronic transfers cannot be used to pay for goods or services. Shops, transportation, markets, and even basic services depend on bills and coins, forcing both locals and visitors to plan each payment and always carry enough cash. This system reflects Eritrea's uniqueness. On the one hand, it limits international financial connectivity, but on the other, it preserves a traditional economic model that has endured despite global changes. This situation makes the country a place where daily life is organized very differently from any other modern nation, reinforcing the feeling of traveling to an isolated and timeless place. But despite so many challenges, Eritrea surprises visitors with its deeply rooted traditions. One of Eritrea's most fascinating traditions is the coffee ceremony, a ritual that can last for hours. Drinking coffee here is not simply an everyday act, but a social event in which friends, family, and neighbors gather, talk, and strengthen their community ties while serving repeated rounds of freshly roasted coffee. The patience, attention to detail, and dedication involved in this ritual make it one of the most emblematic moments in Eritrean life. In addition, the Italian heritage is reflected in their love of espresso and artisan ice cream. In Asmara, it is common to find cafes and ice cream parlors with original Italian machines brought over decades ago, where time seems to have stood still, and every sip is an almost timeless experience. This blend of African tradition and European flair makes the capital unique on the entire continent. Although Eritrea has this Italian-influenced tradition, it is interesting to note that many Eritreans believe that coffee originated in the mountains of their own country, near the border with the Afar region, which belongs to neighboring Ethiopia. Legend has it that in the 9th century, some shepherds noticed that their goats became unusually energetic after eating the red berries of a particular bush in these remote lands. In fact, as you may have noticed, the name coffee is believed to come precisely from Kaffa, paying homage to the historical origins of this plant and the land where the history of this beverage, now consumed worldwide, began. Intrigued by the stimulating effect of these plants on their goats, the shepherds began experimenting with the berries, initially preparing them as an infusion. They soon discovered that this drink gave them energy, to the point of becoming a central element of the local culture, and from there it spread to other regions of the continent and beyond. Today, coffee from the Eritrea region is part of traditional rituals and ceremonies, being one of the most flavorful and appreciated by its inhabitants, and a symbol of connection between African history and everyday life. A connection and affection that you can now convey to us with a like and a comment on this video. Thank you. Surely any coffee, no matter how good it is, can taste very bitter if it is associated with military service, and even more so with the service that some Eritreans must perform, since here, military service can last not 1 or 2 years but a lifetime. This country maintains a compulsory conscription system where young people, upon reaching the age of 18, can be called up to serve, often for an indefinite period. This policy has its roots in past conflicts, especially independence from Ethiopia and subsequent clashes, and seeks to ensure the country's defense against external threats. Despite these restrictions and difficulties, cultural life remains intense and authentic in the country. Eritreans celebrate traditional festivals, practice coffee rituals for hours, maintain ancestral markets, and preserve languages and dialects such as Tigrinya and Tigray. In addition, the unique beauty of the men and women of Eritrea is a feature that immediately catches the eye of any visitor. This is because the population combines features from ancestral tribes from deepest Africa with inherited Mediterranean and European influences. This has resulted in unique physical characteristics: dark skin and light eyes, hair ranging from jet black to shades of blonde or brown, and facial features that could be reminiscent of Europe but with an African context. A genetic mix that creates an extraordinary and striking effect. Who could imagine seeing a black-skinned person with intense green or deep blue eyes and shiny blonde hair, speaking Italian as well as a tribal language? This harmony between African and European features has made Eritrean men and women among the most beautiful in Africa, not only for their physical aesthetics, but also for the natural elegance and presence they convey. This beauty is even more striking because it is found in an inhospitable and isolated environment where daily life is hard and resources are limited. The combination of strength, resilience, and unique features creates a visual magnetism that few regions on the continent can offer. Beyond physical appearance, the culture and personal care of Eritreans enhance this beauty. Traditional hairstyles, carefully crafted clothing, and personal care rituals passed down from generation to generation make their appearance not only genetic, but also a reflection of identity, history, and tradition. This reinforces the feeling of being in the presence of a truly unique people, where aesthetics merge with culture in perfect balance. This combination of isolation, traditions, control, and cultural preservation makes Eritrea one of the most extraordinary countries on the planet. A place where modernity coexists with ancient traditions, where the hardships of the desert and the past have changed the genetics of its people and animals, marked by political, geographical, and historical decisions that few places in the world can match. If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering if it's possible to visit Eritrea, how to do so safely, and what it takes to explore one of Africa's most enigmatic and extreme countries. At Uncensored World, we have compiled all the key information so that you can enjoy this experience in the best possible way and without any setbacks. From Europe, you can reach Eritrea by direct flights or with a stopover from cities such as Rome, Frankfurt, or Istanbul, to the country's capital, Asmara. There are no direct flights from America, so the most practical option is to fly first to Europe or the Middle East. Entering the country requires planning, as access is highly controlled and some areas are extremely restricted. A visa is required to enter, which can be obtained through the nearest Eritrean embassy, although in certain cases a temporary permit is granted upon arrival at Asmara Airport, allowing you to stay for a limited time only and with restricted movement outside the capital. It is not possible to enter certain areas freely, especially the border with Ethiopia and Djibouti, known as the Danakil Corridor, due to the presence of mines and the dangerous nature of the terrain. As we mentioned, the country's economy operates almost exclusively in cash, as there are no ATMs, so all payments must be made in US dollars, euros, or the local currency, the nakfa. Prices are quite cheap compared to Europe and America. A kaffa-style coffee can cost around $1, while dinner for two in Asmara can cost around $15, and a night in a mid-range hotel in the capital around $30. Getting around the country always requires patience and planning. Transportation includes local taxis, minibuses, and rental cars with drivers, but roads outside major cities can be difficult, and some areas are only accessible with authorized guides. Tours to the Danakil Desert, home to active volcanoes, salt flats, and villages of nomadic tribes such as the Afar, must be booked with specialized operators, as it is an extremely inhospitable area. A 3-day tour of this region can cost between $250 and $500, depending on the level of comfort and permits included. In terms of safety, Eritrea is fairly stable in urban areas such as Asmara, with low rates of violent crime. However, the border with Ethiopia and Djibouti is extremely dangerous. The combination of mines, inhospitable terrain, and historical conflicts means that access is only possible with official permits and authorized guides, so any attempt to cross these areas unaccompanied would be very risky. In addition to this, internet access is very limited, as only a small percentage of the population can use it, and the rest depend on internet cafes with very slow connections. Tourists can use Wi-Fi in some hotels or authorized locations, but it is not comparable to the standard connection in other countries. As you can see, when traveling in Eritrea, it is essential to carry enough cash, hire local guides for remote areas, avoid restricted borders, be patient and plan ahead, and also protect yourself from the sun and stay hydrated on desert excursions, especially in places such as the hottest spot on the planet. It is also important to respect local customs, especially in traditional villages, where life follows a very different rhythm from the rest of the world. With proper planning, visiting Eritrea can be a unique and unforgettable experience. Every detail, from the desert landscapes and ancient markets to the hospitality of its people and the coffee ceremonies that last for hours, offers a window into a world that seems frozen in time, full of culture, history, and traditions found nowhere else on the planet. At Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of extraordinary Eritrea has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and considering the effort that goes into making these videos, we would love for you to leave us a like and your comments, as this is the best way you can help us continue to bring you the best content every week. If you enjoyed this video and are not yet subscribed, don't wait any longer and do so now by activating the bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now to discover one of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss out and discover the wonders this place has to offer.